Good afternoon. How are you? It's a beautiful day today. 61 degrees. And it matters that the sun is out. And the wind, though, they say it's at 11 miles an hour. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson. It doesn't feel anything like that. The humidity is 40%. We are engaged in a battle with those who have violated their oath, who hearken back to principles the Federalists first expressed in favor of monarchy, and resistant to the individual having a franchise and voting for the kind of government they have, a republic. We have been dealing with acts that are unconstitutional, but we should call it what it is. And that is, this is a revolution against our Constitution. This is to replace it with a monarchy ultimately, but an oligarchy of billionaires standing by Trump and his corrupt minions. And they're not just seeking vengeance, they're seeking control and mastery that the few know better than the many. And that in this cycle of destruction that they've begun, they've already succeeded in taking steps that are unconstitutional and that they don't care because they're lawless. They are part of a growing movement across the earth in which other governments act the same way. They are making an ethos out of crime, destruction, thuggery, bullying, and they don't care. Because for them, their ultimate objective is control. And control is about power. And they will suppress dissenting opinions. They will attack judges. They will attack the lawyers. They will attack the people, throwing them out of their jobs. They don't care if they're aged, or they're ill, or they're insecure in their lodgings. They lack food and medical treatment. Trump cares nothing for any of these things because his entire life has been a self-aggrandizing reservation to himself, to anything he wants, without loyalty to anyone else. Now, many of us are quite aware, personally or through family, that Social Security is something that people pay ahead on, if you will. You pay taxes and funds, and this is your fund to draw on when you reach that age. So you're passing it forward, and then you'll get to a point that someone behind you will be passing funds so that you may have Social Security, so that you may have Medicare, so that you may have Medicaid. And we have a good example because these people think out loud and tell us what they think, if you can call it that. Billionaire Howard Lutnick. They thought he would lead the Treasury Department, but instead he's the Commerce Secretary. And only days ago he said, it's only fraudsters who complain about missing a Social Security check. He says his mom wouldn't be concerned about such a thing. His mom doesn't have to worry about Social Security. Her son's a billionaire. If we wanted to go to the house of the rich and obnoxious, I'm sure she has one of her own. That put to shame the best house you or I could possibly imagine. Now, for some of us, A house that gives us an opportunity for family, a gathering place, to have children, perhaps animals, to retreat to work, to retreat from work. These things are among the net basket of values we have as a person in a free country in which people can vote, and those people who can vote choose who represents them in a republic. Now, at the beginning of our country, when the words were put to the Constitution, "We the people," there weren't a lot of people in a position, if they weren't of a certain privilege, landowners and so forth. And our early representatives kind of elected each other. But over the years, the franchise became a way to correct errors against us as the people. So we have Lutnick saying, only fraudsters, but honest people like his mom would simply live with the fact that the government didn't mail their monthly payment. Sure, she doesn't have to worry about that. But that's our problem, isn't it? And these people, they want to destabilize working men and women, the disabled, the young, the ill. They want to destabilize them by not allowing them to have Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And they want to slash the workforce so they could claim that we've eliminated that part of the budget. Now we can give more to the wealthy. You see the injustice there. And these people don't give a damn about you or me. I've talked before about how you can't propitiate an evil God, meaning there can be no conversation with people with these shared obscene tortures, the economic violence in which they war upon all of us. So, a former commissioner of the IRS, rather of the Social Security Administration, said Trump and his minions have already compromised our Social Security system. Is that worth something fighting about? I think so. But there's more. There's lots more. The effort to attack those who've had the franchise, the revenge for electing people that we wanted, and Republicans won in those contests as well, is when courts say you're violating the Constitution as part of our way of running this nation under the Constitution. If a court says something is unconstitutional, it is. It's subject to appeal. It's subject to certain earmarks to warranty its reliability. And so, what is the Trump team doing now? They're attacking the courts. They want to change the judges that ruled against them, judge shopping. And they want to get rid of the lawyers who fight back and know how to fight back and do fight back. And you know, it's interesting, I've heard the talking heads and I've seen the print, and there's some talk about how the case against one law firm, a law firm thought highly of, and that surrendered to Trump's requirements, is the state of affairs. But they overlook that Williams and Connolly represented another law firm, Perkins Coie, and the judge, Beryl Howell, decided to issue a restraining order because she couldn't fathom the constitutionality of an executive order that says lawyers lose their security clearance for opposing Trump in campaigns and the like, that they can't speak to federal officials, that they can't go into federal buildings. How does that work? Also, Trump and company are upset that Judge Boasberg, that Judge Boasberg would say, you can't defy my orders. And the Trump administration tries to say, oh, you're interfering with the powers of a president in foreign affairs. Whoa, stop the music. The act that was quoted apparently has an unsigned declaration. There is no war, nor a declaration of war, nor does this act apply unless there's a war, nor does this act apply unless the people you claim coming into the country are in fact an extension of the warring entity. We don't have any war with Venezuela. Should we? I don't know, but that's not the question. And the matter involving the Boasberg decisions came before a 3-judge panel. I hope the wind's not too much. I started paying attention. I feel it, so I apologize. Judge Patricia Millett. She said there were no procedures in place to notify the people involved in their seizure and being disappeared, to many off the face of the earth, then found out to be put on planes to go to a hellhole to be tortured without any hearing, without habeas corpus, without an opportunity to contradict whether they were in fact belonging to any gang even. And a gang is not an act of war. 200 people or so are in this gang. You think 340 million people can handle that? We have enough people to deal with that? Don't you think that's possible? And so the judge said Nazis were getting better treatment under the Alien Enemies Act. And this is a SCOTUS collider that we're dealing with. Because what she was referring to was that in the case of the Nazis, there were hearing boards. There were regulations to follow. The Tron d'Iroquois had no rights. Thus the distinction. And when the government says nobody's done this before, that's right, because no president overstepped his bounds. Someday it'll be her bounds. So no one has done this before. No one has been so unconstitutional, so terrible to the people than Trump. And that's saying a lot, because we've had some really terrible people sit in the Oval Office with the resolute desk. So what are we to do? Well, we can't wait for the midterms. There may not be midterms, but we see thousands are gathering, and others are joining that number, protesting what we're up against. Trump has his knee on the neck of our republic, and we have to push him back, way back, as we used to say it, games. But this is no game. This is serious stuff. These people are denying the oaths by which they're in a position to commit these crimes, to be unconstitutional, to expose themselves to removal from office and prosecution for what they've done. So, we have to light up the Congress. We have to push out the dead weight. And that's Chuck Schumer. We have to fight. This is not a normal election. And if we act like it is, we'll be playing the wrong game to their overthrow of our republic. And that's not acceptable. So we move Schumer out of the way. And we take the tack that we see growing. Town meetings, more cases, hearings on the Hill. And we let judges and lawyers know that we're not going to stand for the impeachment in the Congress for judges and lawyers doing their job, in addition to those who may demonstrate and those who may attend hearings and those who may object and stay in place when they try to fire them. And we have the goo-goo agencies out there, ACLU and retired employees. We have all these people out there, and we should support them, even if it's a little way, in the little ways we can. Because there are people putting their shoulder to the grindstone and pushing this damn thing forward. So that's what I got to say on this marvelous day. And so I say goodbye to you for today from our Cathedral of Trees. All the best. Bye-bye.